Hey guys, how's it going? Today I want to go over the Vacheron Constantin website and their catalog for the latest models and the collection. Quick wristwatch check. I have my Vacheron Constantin Overseas 49140 first generation chronograph. I'm a fan of Vacheron Constantin. I mean, of the big three, right? Patek, AP, and Vacheron. I'd say, Patek's on top. AP and Vacheron, I guess they're about the same, although the Royal Oak is probably, hands down the most iconic out of those two watch brands. That being said, you can't take anything away from the Vacheron Constantin as a brand. I feel that they may not have a watch as great or as iconic as the Royal Oak, but they definitely are more diversified, right? They've got, let's take a look, here's the website, they've got a lot of different lines, right? The Patrimony, it's their iconic dress line, right? Which is a lot more, it's got a lot more provenance, just a lot more going compared to AP's dress line. I think it's called the Jules Audemars. I'd rather have the Patrimony than I'd rather have a Vacheron dress watch than an AP dress watch. Let's put it that way. Okay, so they've got beautiful collections. The Patrimony Traditionnel. Got a Historique. That's another great line. They also have the Toledo, which I don't really see here. But anyway, I'm more interested in their overseas line. I just want to take a look at it. Right? So, for those of you who don't know, Vacheron Constantin has recently launched a third generation of overseas, and to be honest, it's I think it's rather unfortunate they launched it at not a good time. The Swiss watch industry is not doing very well. Richemont, who owns Vacheron Constantin, I think they reported losses, and I think there's a big shakeup in management as well. Not too sure about that, but I know that they're not doing very well this year. The economy is not, the economy in Asia is not very robust. I just came back from an Asian trip. I went to Hong Kong and Seoul, and there were a lot of Vacheron boutiques. I'd never seen so many Vacheron boutiques in my life. Here in Canada, there's none. I mean, they're authorized dealers, but there are no, there's no boutique. I don't know if there's one in Toronto, but in Hong Kong, I think there were just as many Vacheron Constantins as there were McDonald's or Starbucks. It was quite ridiculous. Seoul as well, right? So they heavily market out to Asia, and Asia's not doing. Asia's seen better days. Let's put it that way. So the timing of the launch of the overseas line is not good, right? They revamped the line. They created a new in-house movement, which, okay, let's take a look. All right, so for those of you who are familiar with the overseas line, this is just a three-hander. I believe this is a 41 or 42 millimeter size watch. It's pretty substantial, and it seems like they've gone for a pseudo tonneau, pseudo cushion case shaped watch, which it's got a bit of a 70s look, right? It's like a little bit cushion case, you look how it just kind of curves like that. It's okay, it's something different. I won't say it's better. It's something different from before, right? And the thing is that these things are going for a beautiful movement, though, right? Hallmark of Geneva. It's a beautiful watch, right? Beautiful movement, but you know, it's a sports watch, right? Does it need to be so refined, right? Compared to the previous generation. Oh, let's look at this one. You know, it's okay. I mean, I just feel that it's a little too expensive, right? MSRP, or if you were to pick one up brand new, 20,000, whereas you can pick these up, right? The previous generation for, well, this guy's asking for $9,875 US. Sure, you could bring it down to like $9,000. He'd gladly take the money and run, you know. These are okay watches, right? I mean they're great watches. Just that the price is not. It's too much. I think at the price range they're trying to get into Royal Oak territory, Royal Oak and Aquanaut territory, right? So they want to be the alternative to, you know, the Royal Oak 15400 and the Patek Aquanaut. But I think, I don't think they will succeed. You know, I really wish them the best, right? I'm a big fan of Vacheron and Constantin, but I think at that price point, out of the three, I'd always be picking the overseas last, right? Given that, you know, price is negligible, right? Whereas in the past, you know, the overseas was, you know, significantly less expensive than the Royal Oak or the Patek Aquanaut. It's obviously less expensive than the Nautilus. So it kind of gave owners, right, the alternative, yes. In terms of prestige, Vacheron is just as prestigious as an AP or a Patek, but you know, they offer you a sports watch which is, you know, significantly less expensive. And they were able to do that because they were using movements made by Frederick Piguet, which is now owned by Richemont as well. I believe Frederick Piguet, they now exclusively make movements for Blancpain. Or, am I right? Ah, sorry guys, I'm a little bit mixed up. It's just, because Blancpain is owned by, I don't know if Blancpain is owned by the Swatch Group or Richemont. Anyway, so they decided to make their own movements, which I think was is not necessary. I think, you know, the Piguet movements are fantastic movements, very refined, very good, very great movements. Are they as robust as a Rolex? No. They're better finished, but definitely not as robust as a Rolex. I thought that, well, I think that this movement on the first generation overseas is great. It's fantastic. I mean, I'm not gonna go to war with this chronograph, but it does the job, right? I'm actually more curious about the chronograph for the overseas. So the main differences between the current lineup and the first and second generation is that, let me take this out. All right, they obviously, you can see that, switch the date to, you know, from 12 o'clock to somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock. I think it's a bit of a shame because it just made it unique. There are not many chronographs with the date at 12. Whereas many chronographs like the Breitling Never Timer have the date at that very location, and I guess it lacks a bit of it's not as symmetrical as the first generation. As a matter of fact, I feel that when it comes to the Vacheron overseas, they really had it. They really nailed it the first time, which is pretty rare. This is significantly smaller. I believe the chronograph is at least a 42 mil. This one is a 40 millimeter, but it's still very substantial. It's very wearable. My wrists are not, my wrists are pretty average size, and I just think it's extremely proportional. I will say that the bracelet is well made, but then it's nothing compared to the current bracelet technology where it just snaps in, right? I think that's fantastic. That's where I think if you were to buy the new Vacheron overseas, you're really buying it for the bracelet upgrade, because this one it's a little bit clumsy, I have to admit. Well made, right? Pretty comfortable. It's good. It's a good bracelet, but the latest overseas lineup, their bracelet technology is leaps and bounds. They really improve in that category. Beautiful watch, but it's just a little too expensive, and they launched it at not the best of times. Its conception was probably, maybe 3-4 years ago, when times were really rolling. Asia was doing really well, and I think they just projected that it would continue to grow, and that it was feasible to develop the new in-house movement for the overseas, and that was 42.5 millimeter. That's pretty big, guys. That's a little big. So I'm not optimistic about the overseas line. I think they're gonna have a hard time shifting these out of the boutique. If you were to buy a new one, please haggle. I'm pretty sure you can get a significant discount, and if you're gonna buy brand new, right? Like, I already saw someone selling there. Oh, this guy. He's selling his current generation overseas, asking for 14,000 US dollars, or best offer. I'm pretty sure he would take like 12.5, maybe 13. I think he'd take 13, and he's looking for a trade with AP Royal Oak. So it just goes to show that it's not. It's just not it's just not on the same league, right? Given all things equal, the price and everything, I think the Royal Oak is still a much better. It's a better watch, right? In terms of design, execution, provenance, history, movement. Yeah, movement as well. There's a lot of movement history in the Royal Oak, right? With the 15202. So the overseas, I think it's gonna be a flop. I don't wish for it to be a flop, but I would never buy one brand new, even on the secondhand market, right? I don't think I would buy. I don't think I would buy it. I think that the best overseas to buy is actually, right? I feel it's actually the one I got. I mean, that's why I bought it, I guess. But right, even the second generation, right? Even when you look at the second generation overseas, beautiful watch, guilloche dial, right? Guilloche dial, beautiful. The sub-dials are asymmetrical, right? This is the biggest one. I don't know if these are the same size, but it's asymmetrical. It's 42 millimeter. I've tried it on. It's just a little bit too big for my wrist. They're both using the same movement, the PK 1185, and it's a beautiful watch. Of course, the bracelet is better, right? The bracelet is an upgrade from the first generation, but in terms of style and aesthetics and movement, the movement's exactly the same. The style and the aesthetics is just up to preference, right? And the first generation, you know, those could be had for, I'd say, 7,000 to 8,000, maybe a 7,500 to 8,000 US. So they're great, right? I actually had I sold this guy this watch. The first generation overseas is a little bit dated in my opinion. Not a big fan of it. I had it. What I didn't like about it was, you know, it was 37 millimeters. It was a little bit small. Just the proportions of it. Even though, you know, even though the date just is smaller, but the date just kind of feels a little more substantial. And yeah, it's okay. I didn't really like it. But this one I really do like. Okay. So Vacheron, beautiful watch, great brand, but I think they're gonna fall into hard times. I just can't see anyone splashing 20 grand on their overseas lineup. Right, a little too big. Right, a little too big and a little too expensive, and I'd much rather have a Royal Oak or an Aquanaut than the overseas. Right, it's unfortunate. I think Vacheron should have just kept the PK movements. Right, just kept it, keep the cost down, let people get into the brand. Right, it was the gateway watch into Vacheron, but now they seem to have closed that gate. They've locked the gate, right? Maybe they have had enough customers, I don't know, although I highly doubt it. But the overseas is no longer a gateway watch into the brand, right? Which is rather unfortunate because it was, you know, I like the brand. I like Vacheron Constantin. They've been around since 1755, which is amazing. But now that they've, you know, jacked up the prices of everything, I think it's a bit of a mistake. It's a bit of a shame. But you know, you can always get into it in the secondary market. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, that's my thoughts on Vacheron Constantin. Thanks for watching. Bye.